On the broadcast tonight, breaking news, President Lori Carter has announced she is leaving Shippensburg University at the end of the semester. We have her statement to students and where she's headed next. We take a closer look inside the new R3 Center on campus and sit down with the director of the center to find out why the switch was made. And remembering an Adams County icon who has brought joy to generations of families. That and more, our coverage begins right now on SUTV News. Good evening and welcome to SUTV News. I'm Bailey Cassada. We begin tonight with breaking news. President Lori Carter has announced in an email to students this afternoon that she is leaving the university at the end of the semester. Over the summer, she will transition to Lawrence University, a private liberal arts school in Appleton, Wisconsin. Carter has spent the last 4 years at SHIP and in that time has launched the First Year Experience Program, the First Generation College Program, and the Shippensburg University Anti-Racism Institute. It has not yet been announced when the search for the university's 18th president will begin. SUTV got an exclusive look inside the new R3 testing center in the Cub. SUTV's Jacob Hitz has more.
The new R3 testing center in the airport lounge allows for streamlined testing for students. When students arrive, they are asked a few questions, including if they have been in contact with anyone who has tested positive for COVID-19 or if they've tested positive over the last 60 days. After the questions, students head to the table right inside the door. If you have an appointment scheduled, all you have to do is scan your QR code. Then you're handed a vial and are assigned to a spot on the floor. Then, once you get to your spot, it's time to get to work. Once you think enough saliva is given, it's time for you to visit one last table. The people working there will let you know if you've given enough or will ask you to provide more for the test. Then it's time to wipe down the vial with a wipe, place the vial in a bag, use some hand sanitizer, and you're all set.
The new testing protocol allows students to be more involved on campus. And I sat down with the head of the R3 Center, Javita Thompson, to talk about it.
I asked Javita about what motivated the switch from the nasal swab test used last semester in Eder Health Center to the saliva test in the R3 Center.
Being able to do more testing once we got approval from the PASHI system to be able to do testing for our students who lived on campus. And Eder being able to handle that many students as well as care for our students was a bit much. So taking testing out of their regiment for everything except for symptomatic testing made that where we could do it here in R3.
I also spoke with the director of the COVID-19 response, Christopher Clark, and while he requested to not be shown or heard on camera, you can find the interview on our website at sutvnews.org. For SUTV News, I'm Jacob Hitz.
Are you interested in learning from our alumni? 3 alumni will be sharing their lessons, leadership experiences, and some of their favorite SHIP memories during live Q&As that will be held virtual lunches this month. The first Lunch and Learn will be held Tuesday, March 9th at noon, featuring Kim Dixon, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of FedEx and graduate of the class of '84. The second Lunch and Learn will take place on Tuesday, March 16th at noon. This second Q&A will be led by Barry Ann George, Vice President of Development and Communications of Safe Harbor Incorporated and graduate of the class of '89. The last Lunch and Learn will be Tuesday, March 23rd at noon, featuring Denise Calabres, owner of Calabres Management and graduate of the class of '86. There will be more upcoming Lunch and Learn events in April. Follow SHIP socials for updates and visit our website for more information at sutvnews.org. Women's History Month here at SHIP has officially begun. With in-person and virtual events being held throughout the month of March, there are many opportunities for students to get involved. This upcoming week, there are 3 virtual events anyone can attend. March 8th at 5:30 p.m., there is a Challenge to Change leadership seminar held by a panel of higher education presidents and administrators. Also on March 8th at 7 p.m., guest speaker Elizabeth Rule will be running a Q&A on topics including reproductive justice and the relationship between COVID-19 and gender violence and many more. These events and more can be found on the university website. Tired of walking around campus bored with nothing to do? Well, APB is holding multiple events for the upcoming weeks. This Saturday night in the Cub NPR, there will be a fun-filled bingo night with lots of great prizes. Next weekend, there is plenty of activities, and starting on Friday night, there will be a virtual concert featuring some of your fellow SHIP students. Casino night will take place on Saturday at 9 p.m. in the Cub MPR. And towards the end of the month, there will be a movie showing on March 19th. For more details on these events, head over to APB's page on campus groups at ship.campusgroups.com/APB. Edwin Lee Gottwalt, widely known as Mr. Ed, has passed away at the age of 84. Mr. Ed has been known locally as the owner of Mr. Ed's Elephant Museum and Candy Emporium for nearly 40 years. The owner of the popular roadside attraction officially passed away on Friday, February 26th, which also happened to be his wedding anniversary and the anniversary of the museum's opening. The museum outside of Gettysburg has been a popular roadside attraction since Mr. Ed opened in 1975. Mr. Ed's Elephant Museum is home to more than 12,000 different elephants, from small collectibles to life-size sculptures. Mr. Ed officially retired from the museum in 2010, but sold the business to his granddaughter. SUTV sends its condolences out to the family and friends of Mr. Ed. Now let's get a check of what's coming up in the Slate this week. Paige Shope has the details.
Coming up this week in the Slate, our news section will cover the SGA's public meeting this week and the PASHI Chancellor's visit to SHIP via Zoom this Monday. The opinion section will feature pieces by staff columnists. The arts and entertainment section will cover the opening of the new Shape Gallery exhibit called Unmuted. And finally, our sports section will feature a lacrosse preview as well as recaps of baseball, cross country, and swimming. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at ShipUSlate, and be sure to pick up the next edition of the Slate Tuesdays on newsstands or read anytime at theslateonline.com.
Last weekend, the new Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine was approved for emergency use by the FDA. And with nearly 4 million doses being sent across the country, more people will be able to gain access, including a special group in Pennsylvania. Megan Talley has the details.
With the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine hitting the stage, confusion comes about how effective it is compared to the other two vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna. When looking at the three, Pfizer and Moderna have over 90% effectiveness with 2 shots given in a 3 to 4 week period. Johnson & Johnson's comes as the only single-dose shot, 66% effective over moderate illness and 85% against severe disease. But with making and testing the 3 vaccines being vastly different, rest assured it is still a viable option to get us one step closer to ending the pandemic.
What vaccine is better than the other vaccine? In order to be able to determine that, you would have to compare them head to head. This was not done. We have 3 highly efficacious vaccines that are also, as Dr. Walensky says, has a very good safety profile.
And with about 94,000 doses coming to Pennsylvania this week, Governor Wolf and his COVID-19 task force plan on opening up access to the state's educators and school staff.
Vaccinations are just one more layer of a protection on top of all that to help the process continue. And it's important that we continue to wear masks, we continue to practice social distancing at schools wherever possible. Even after teachers and school employees have been vaccinated, these things will remain important. Schools are an integral part of our communities, and all of us are proud to stand with teachers and families and students to make our schools and our communities safer. This initiative will help protect our communities. It's going to take burdens off our parents and families, and it's going to make our schools get back to the business of teaching our kids, which is exactly the way it should be.
The Department of Health will be teaming up with the PA National Guard to create mass vaccination sites, including one on Walnut Bottom Road in Carlisle. Wolf hopes to start this operation late next week. Reporting for SUTV News, I'm Megan Talley.
Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a startling rise in hate crimes and violence towards Asian Americans. SUTV's Adam Beam has more.
In the age of COVID-19, a startling new statistic is continuing to rise and has become an even worse pandemic in major cities across the country. There has been a startling rise in anti-Asian American hate crimes in cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Boston, just to name a few. In a study conducted by the Center for Study of Hate and Extremism, it shows that between 2019 and 2020, following the start of the pandemic, some cities saw a percentage rise of over 100%. This study also revealed that in 2020 that there were 122 incidents of these hate crimes in 16 of the most populous cities, with a total increase of 150% from the previous year. Many Asian American rights advocates connect the rise in continuous attacks due to the constant blame and finger-pointing by the former Trump administration, who repeatedly blamed China for the disease, as well as giving the disease many nicknames such as the China virus and Kung flu. As Chris Kwok of the Asian American Bar Association of New York said, quote, "I think the political leadership under Trump really put a target on the backs of people perceived to be Chinese. It's xenophobia," end quote. The Stop Asian American Pacific Islanders hate group recorded that more than 2,800 incidents targeting Asian Americans between March and December of 2020 had occurred, 90% being verbal abuse, while the other 10% was physical assaults. The most recent incident being 23-year-old Salman Muffley, who was arrested last week after stabbing a 36-year-old Asian man in New York City. While he was charged with a count of attempted murder and several other charges, none of them were hate crime related. City resident Will Lexham said many of his family live in fear and anxiety, saying, quote, "We're just tired. We're tired of being scapegoated for many of the problems of the pandemic. We're tired of being ignored," end quote. While the rise in crime is startling, there has also been an almost equal rise in rallies and support for protecting Asian Americans from further violence, and we do hope that these numbers begin to lower as the year goes on. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
Children celebrate Read Across America Day annually on March 2nd. This day also happens to be author Theodore Seuss Geisel's birthday, but this year readers will have to shelve 6 of his books due to racist and insensitive imagery indefinitely. Dr. Seuss Enterprises released a statement saying, "These books portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong, and that their plans is to support all children and families with messages of hope, inspiration, inclusion, and friendship." In 2018, the National Education Association started advising educators to put extra focus on diversity during Read Across America and to move away from making the day synonymous with Dr. Seuss's birthday, saying it is critical for all students to see themselves represented in popular culture. After more than 2 years, the Biden administration made the decision to release the classified report about the murder of Saudi Arabian journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The killing is believed to have been ordered by Saudi Arabian Prince Mohammed bin Salman after Khashoggi wrote many critical articles in a monthly column about the royal family in the Washington Post. Salman has denied any involvement in the murder and knowledge of the operation. Khashoggi was last seen walking into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul on September 28, 2018, in order to finalize his divorce from his wife. Once Khashoggi was in the building, he was attacked and strangled by several Saudi Arabian officers. In January 2019, 11 unnamed suspects were taken into court, and 5 of the suspects were found guilty and sentenced to death. 3 were given prison sentences totaling 24 years, and the other 3 were found not guilty. Many have been critical of the United States' lack of interest in trying to hold Prince Salman accountable for the arrangement of the capture and killing of Khashoggi. As a response, many United States government officials have made statements saying justice will be served and anyone involved will be held accountable.
We believe there is more effective ways to make sure this doesn't happen again, and to also be able to leave room to work with the Saudis on areas where there is mutual agreement, where there is interest, national interest for the United States. That is what diplomacy looks like. That is what a complicated global engagement looks like. And we have made no secret and been clear we are going to hold them accountable and on the global stage and in with direct actions.
As the investigation continues, the United States and Saudi Arabia also continue to alter their relationship in order to remain partners, but also to ensure justice is served for those who were involved in the murder. Now that the Conservative Political Action Conference has come to an end, we might have a clear idea to who could be the GOP's nomination for 2024. SUTV's Adam Beam takes a look at the possible candidates.
The Democrats may hold the White House and a majority in Congress, but this hasn't stopped Republicans from already making their plans to regain control of Washington. This past weekend marked the annual Conservative Political Action Conference in Orlando, and it gave us a possible glimpse at who may be the frontrunners for the GOP in the 2024 presidential election. Naturally, all eyes are on former President Donald Trump, who made his first public appearance since leaving office back in January at the conference. And it was here where he teased the possibility of running again in 2024. Former President Trump seems like the likeliest candidate to be nominated by the GOP as he still holds a tight grip on the party. In a poll conducted at the conference about supporting the candidate if he were to run in 2024, Trump won a majority with 55% voting they would want him to be their candidate, and 68% in another poll saying they specifically want Trump to run again. While these numbers seem to be conclusive, it should be noted that these numbers don't always reflect the final outcome for a nominee. Punchbowl News founder Jake Sherman tweeted out this list of former winners in the same polls conducted at CPAC events, and clearly they did not accurately reflect the party's decision come Election Day. Former President Trump wasn't the only Republican to make an impression at CPAC. As it stands, the three other frontrunners who have had a chance at being the GOP's choice includes Governor of Florida Ron DeSantis, former Governor of South Carolina Nikki Haley, and former Vice President Mike Pence. However, their odds remain quite low compared to the former 43rd, and Mike Pence in particular did not attend the CPAC event, denying his invitation. Although it should also be noted that while Trump won a majority at the event, and it was clear that he still has supporters, many Republicans have spoken out that it doesn't mean he is a guaranteed nominee, and it doesn't always reflect the party overall. Former George W. Bush advisor Karl Rove put it best when speaking with Fox News following the event, saying, quote, "For him to only get 55% says he is losing strength because he's not introducing something new. He's losing strength whether he recognizes it," end quote. While the GOP has high hopes for the future, we are still 2 years away from the next midterm election and just under 4 till the next presidential election, and we will have to see how the GOP holds up under the Biden administration. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is fighting for his political life. Following reports that he covered up the COVID-19 nursing home data, multiple women have come forward alleging sexual harassment against the governor. SUTV's Jacob Hitz has more.
Andrew Cuomo was thought of in early 2020 as an emerging Democrat in the country, potentially eyeing a presidential run in 2024. But now Cuomo is facing political turmoil. In February, it was reported that Cuomo delayed the number of nursing home deaths due to COVID-19 in the state of New York, and that the death toll may have been up to 50% higher than initially reported. Now, 3 former aides to Cuomo have come forward alleging sexual misconduct, sparking calls for resignation and investigation of Cuomo's actions.
I don't see how anyone can function as a governor and have the trust of the people and the respect of the people if they purposefully covered up the deaths of thousands of our seniors, our elders, family members, beloved family members who are gone. If you cover that up, or if you did things for reasons that had to do with politics or contributions, and if you've sexually harassed young women in your employment, these are disqualifying realities. How can anyone look the people in the face after that? If these allegations, if these charges are proven, there's just no way he can govern.
Look, the allegations that have been made by Ms. Rush and Ms. Boylan and Ms. Bennett are serious, very troubling. These women have to be listened to. I've always believed that sexual harassment is not acceptable, must not be tolerated. Now there's an investigation in the hands of a very, very capable person, the Attorney General of New York State. I supported it and called for it.
Cuomo spoke at a press conference on Wednesday where he apologized for the allegations.
You can go find hundreds of pictures of me kissing people, men, women. It is my usual and customary way of greeting. However, what I also understand is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter my intent. What it matters is if anybody was offended by it.
New York Attorney General Letitia James said that her office will investigate the accusations of sexual harassment and will hire a law firm to conduct an independent investigation. For SUTV News, I'm Jacob Hitz.
Now let's get a check of the weather with SUTV's Marley Bowman.
We're marching on through the year, and we're just about 2 weeks away from the official start of spring. Tonight, clear skies and outright cold, a low of 23, but it'll feel like the single digits outside. Tomorrow, the wind hangs around, sunny with a high of 38. Looking ahead, we see the sun and a lot of it throughout the week, as temperatures gradually rise into the 60s by the middle of next week. Other than a small chance of rain on Thursday, it should be a great week to get outside. And that's it for weather this week. I'm Marley Bullman. Now let's go back over to Bailey at the desk.
In Florida, a beloved pet dog vanished under shady circumstances this week. Whether it was because of the neglect of a pet sitter who later disappeared, or whether the animal was stolen is unclear. But what is clear, the use of a microchip helped reunite the owner and her best friend. Ari Haight has the story.
I don't know what I would do without it. I don't think I would ever find a dog as great as she is.
Susan Forcia has only had Marley for about a year.
She's so loving. She loves to be scratched on the belly.
But the bond they share is evident. This week, Susan had to go away, so the Palm Beach Gardens woman found a pet sitter for Marley. But it doesn't seem like the sitter did too much sitting. On Wednesday, someone found Marley wandering through the Shores community in Jupiter. No leash, no collar. That Good Samaritan brought Marley to Furry Friends Clinic. They found Marley does have a microchip, but the info was not updated.
There probably was somebody out there searching frantically. They never gave up.
There was enough information on the chip to lead them to another animal rescue who had Susan's name. From there, they used social media to track down Susan's friends, who called her to say Furry Friends had Marley.
I immediately got all her paperwork and I got in the car and I went straight to Furry Friends.
They brought the dog out. The dog leaped into her arms. It was a beautiful, tearful reunion, and we knew that they belonged together.
When she saw me, she just totally ran up to me and was licking me and hugging me and was so happy, and I was crying.
Marley was unharmed. She's home now, back with her human, who is back with her best friend.
I'm so grateful to Furry Friends for bringing my baby back.
It's a great success story about going the extra mile for animals and for people and bringing them together and having a happy ending, which is the best feeling in the world.
As for the dog napper who may have stolen Marley, Susan says she's not going to waste time on that. She believes the chances of catching the dog thief are probably remote. She has Marley back now, and she says that is all that matters. A doggone good story to end on tonight. And that's our broadcast for tonight. I'm Bailey Cassada. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media at SUTV News and check out our website at sutvnews.org. We're back with sports next week. Until then, have a great weekend and good night.